Hi, this is Ivy's Law of Nature, and we are going live again. This is our second live. So, if you're just joining, this is Ivy's Law of Nature, where nature, law, and relationships merge. Yes. And today we're going to be, talking about the fact that everything that works in life works because it follows a law. Yes. Whether it's your natural healing, whether it's your relationship, whether it's law, everything is backed by a law. And things fall apart really when there are no legal and emotional or physical guidance, you see, to those things. It's usually because law, when ignored, creates chaos. I don't know if there's anybody on live. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, follow us on all our social media pages, Ivy underscore organics one, everywhere. Okay, so we're going to be just delving right into it. And the real reason why we are discussing this is to help people live intentionally and not accidentally. And we're going to start with the societal rules, the rules that guide the society. Laws exist because we want to maintain law and order. Above all, protect the citizens and have accountability when necessary. And when laws are not adhered to, there are consequences. You know, what are these laws? In which areas are we talking about? Your contract, your marriage, your property, business, all thrive because there are clear rules. You see, there are clear rules. And of course, like I said earlier, chaos begins when rules are completely absent or ignored. Again, remember that we're talking about law, natural healing, nature, or your relationships. And, when we talk about natural laws, that is nature, wellness, how does this operate and why do we have to adhere to the law? Nothing heals overnight. So oftentimes people say to me, oh, I used this product and it didn't work well. Meanwhile, if you don't know, my name is Ivy. I own a skin, hair, and wellness brand. And I also am a lawyer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think I know one or two things about, relationships, life, and friendships. So, anyways, nature operates by law. That's why you cannot start a healing process and expect immediate healing or response. No. And herbs actually work pretty well when used correctly and with consistency and with patience. Okay, so whenever you go for a real herbal product or you're trying to heal yourself naturally, please understand that patience is very key. And you cannot have abused your body over time and expect to get healed immediately because, again, illnesses have come in, imbalance, and all of that. You see, so don't rush any healing process, don't rush any healing product, don't rush herbal products, and don't rush nature. Imagine this, when you plant a seed, right, that's supposed to be a tree, how long does it take to germinate? It doesn't grow overnight, right? Yeah, I guessed as much. So wait, be patient, and be consistent. Where your consistency applies is, like the seed that we had used as an example, you water the seed, you pray for sunlight, and then you start to see little sprouts, and then it grows into a mighty big tree. Okay? And when we talk about relationships, relationships, borders across all areas, marriage, life, friendships, bosses, employer, employee, all sorts of relationships, but most especially the ones that have to do with the heart. That is marriage, boyfriends, fiance, fiance, and friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, your gang, your main people, your ride and die or ride or die, whatever that emotional sentiment that is drawn to you guys has to thrive on respect. It has to also thrive on honesty, and it also has to thrive on boundaries. Meanwhile, I'm going to do a quick outfit check for you guys. Hold on. So I have this really cute cherry earrings. I got it from Temu. Yeah. And this cute shorts, pants, very artistic. It's from Glucci Couture. And it's so artistic. Just look at that. Of course, my shoe is from an online vendor. I cannot remember. And if I remember, I'll tag her. Of course, it's my old Ashioke that I just put on a black top from my MI mother-in-law. And of course, skin and hair powered by Ivy Organics. So we'll continue. And so when we talk about relationships, friendship, emotion, the truth is that relationships are really guided by emotions. You feel very emotional, you feel extreme hurt or extreme hate or extreme love or extreme likeness towards certain people, who gain your attention emotionally. And, but one thing is certain, when those kind of relationships do not have structure, they would break down. Yes. Um, and when they don't have structure or there's no freedom and boundaries, it becomes quite confusing. So you can imagine a friend who doesn't know your values, who doesn't know your likes, who doesn't know your dislikes, just pushes you one day and says, "Look, you know what? I'm going to smoke in your room." And you're like, "No, I don't like it." And the person's like, "I beg you, you're my friend. I'm going to do whatever I want." You see, that person has begun to cross certain boundaries that you do not appreciate. And sometimes there is complete breakdown when there's no proper communication, and all of that. So, having looked through all of this, when you really look at the emotional and relationship laws, you find out that when there are no boundaries, there's no honesty as well. When you don't tell your friend the truth, you don't tell your husband the truth, you don't tell your wife the truth, you don't respect who they are to you and who they are for themselves, it becomes, there becomes an issue of burnout. When I mean burnout, the person just becomes tired. I don't really want to see this person. This person makes me feel angry or annoyed, or I just resent this person. Or sometimes it gets really bad where the other person, the recipient, becomes heartbroken, and we really don't want that. Okay, so everything has to have structure. Okay, and sometimes people say, "Oh, life is unfair." It's often a law, a particular law, be it a law of nature that was ignored. When you know that you're not supposed to be eating bread every day, that when you eat too much carbs, you become highly obese, or you have a high deposit of cholesterol, and then you run to your herbal specialist like me, and then demand that you get well within a day or 7 days. Nah, that doesn't work. Or when you hurt someone, maybe intentionally, not intentionally, and there's lack of communication or there's lack of boundaries, when a husband hits a wife, when a friend curses out her friend, or a guy, backs down on an agreement entered into by his friend, especially when it boils down to money, you see that chaos becomes the order of the day. And sometimes, knowingly or unknowingly, a law has been violated. So you want to really check. Is life punishing you, or you're just responding to choices, or life is responding to the choices that you made in respect to these areas that we've talked about? That is law, life, nature, and relationships. Of course, which law would you say over time as an adult? I'm not asking you to respond, but I want you to have this as a take home and think about it critically. Which of these laws have you really, really ignored, intentionally and unintentionally, or you somehow didn't even know? Remember that in the law, it says that excuses, sorry, not knowing the law is not an excuse. Okay. So not being aware that this person hurts this type of way, not being aware that the law operates in this kind of way, doesn't excuse you from the consequences. Okay. And at the end of the day, what you would really see is that for all three laws, accountability is very important. Boundaries are very, very, very important. Above all, patience. Okay, you have to be patient with nature. You have to be patient with your country. You have to be patient with law, the people that you do business with or you transact with. You have to be patient with your family, your friends, your spouse, and of course, everyone is entitled to having boundaries. When these boundaries have been set, you want to ensure that you adhere to that, and you must be accountable for the things that you do. Yeah, you have to be accountable. So again, when you understand the laws that govern life, you stop surviving and you start living in alignment. Until next time, this is Ivy's Law of Nature. Toodles.